2022, we're looking towards next year. Is it time to reboot business? Is it time to reboot business? Right? So we are obviously here to talk about the challenges we faced. We are here to talk about the opportunities that may have actually arisen as a result of the crisis, and that's the reason why we have selected entrepreneurs from very different backgrounds in very different sectors, so that it'll be more or less representative. A little bit of background about the situation, right? COVID-19 pandemic, well, we all know it's been a great shock to the global economy. As a small, open economy, Singapore was particularly affected, right? And there were multiple budgets amounting to $100 billion uh, contributed by the government over a span of 9 months to stabilize the COVID-19 situation within within Singapore itself, right? The economic impact has been, you could say, uneven. It varied from sector to sector. The worst hit sectors were the aviation sector, tourism, food and beverage or F&B, and retail. These were the sectors that were very badly hit. Lower income groups are also disproportionately affected. Workers in high touch industries and jobs requiring face-to-face interaction, these workers were particularly affected as well, because of redundancies as a result of social distancing measures brought that had to be enforced. Now, small and medium enterprises or SMEs are the backbone of Singapore's economic landscape, as we all know. SMEs contribute to nearly half of Singapore's GDP and employ about 70% of Singapore's workforce. The COVID-19 pandemic brought about unprecedented business challenges for SMEs. For example, 9 in 10 saw their business operations impacted. 9 in 10, right? 3 in 5 reported a decline in revenues directly affected by COVID. Now, it's important to mention this. The emerging stronger task force set up by the government, uh, uh, which envisions businesses in Singapore tapping new growth areas by activities such as digitalization of supply chains, growing smart commerce through online to offline partnerships, increasing productivity through robotics, and finding solutions to meet sustainable goods. All of these things have also helped very much for us to look beyond our own horizons to find solutions. So that's why we are here today. And that's why the topic carefully chosen. We don't want to drive looking at the rearview mirror. We want to drive into 2022 looking at the windscreen and occasionally glancing at the rearview mirror to learn some lessons. So we'd like to hear, actively listen to our entrepreneurs today to find out what have been some of the key challenges, not just from your own experiences, entrepreneurs, but also what you have learned from your friends. What kind of challenges have your friends faced, right? How have we all found ways to overcome these challenges? And how have we also grasped opportunities, seized the moment, so to speak? Let's hear from our entrepreneurs. Loretta, why don't we start with you?
Thank you, Viswa. Thank you, Dr. Aziza and Go Global. This has been a very a wonderful platform for me to share, my troubles and, the difficulties we've gone through. Just to set the pace, we built the following brands for 20 years. LAMC Productions is the music arm. Um, as Dr. Aziza said, we've brought in, a lot of the A-list acts. Acts have sold in excess of 100 million and streamed a billion songs, from your Guns N' Roses to your Dionne Warwick, legacy acts like Engelbert Humperdinck, etc. And then in 2011, I discovered a new area to launch, which was comedy. At that time, no one was bringing the big name comedians to Asia. But comedy as a platform, as an entertainment, has been going on, in the 1930s and the 1940s with, Charlie Chaplin, I Love Lucy, and all these famous TV shows. Um, so in 2013, we set up LA Comedy Live. This was basically a touring a company bringing all the A-list comedians into Singapore first, and then we expanded to other regions in Asia. Some of the big names we've promoted that people thought I was crazy putting Russell Peters in a stadium, but I did it, and I sold 18,000 tickets for him in 2012. And then we continued and we repeated the success with him year after year, and we formulated the Back by Popular Demand tours with Russell. So during the time from 2012 to 2016, we sold 60,000 tickets for Russell in Singapore and Hong Kong and Indonesia. After that, I started promoting, identifying, various comedians to bring out to Singapore, and these are British comedians, Indian comedians, and even not discriminating the LGBTQ community. And of course, I have to give a lot of thank you to the IMDA. They allowed me to bring these cutting edge acts into Singapore. All the queens from RuPaul Drag Race. Um, what was shocking was when COVID happened, our business stopped. And for the record, Mr. Jeffrey, we did the last concert in Asia. So LAMC Productions did the last concert in Asia, which was Scorpions and Whitesnake. By that time, we already knew this was becoming a very big issue because the shows we were doing were supposed to be cancelled. But luckily the bands, we all kind of regrouped and we said, let's push forward and let's do the show. So March 5th was basically the last concert in Asia that we did the last concert in Asia. And we want to actually do a documentary on this of our experience doing the last show in Asia. We don't know when we'll ever get back to 5,000 capacity or 8,000 capacity or 10,000. So, as Mr. Viswa also pointed out, we are prepared not to go back to the same way of doing business. And we're here to basically evolve. And we've seen a lot of great opportunity because now, from a B2C model, which we were selling tickets to in-person people in specific cities, we now can reach a global audience. And this is where, later on, I will, want to reach out to you, Mr. Jeffrey, to find out what are the initiatives my company can, look at as we take on the global challenge with the live streaming, the amazing NFT space, which I'm glad that we stuck on and we managed to stay on because my business now is worth a lot more than it was in 2019. So yes, thank you.
Wonderful. So, Loretta, thanks for giving the background and for being very direct about what the challenge is, and very quickly talking about the opportunity that arose and how you grasped it, and that you see a lot more opportunity ahead. I like what you said about reaching out to a global audience and live streaming. I think all of us can relate to it, right? I mean, everyone today knows what Zoom is. I mean, Zoom is euphemism for this platform. Of course, there are many other platforms, but who knew about Zoom? Who knew that even Zoom existed before that? Today, it's everyday word like Colgate. So I think the world has revolutionized. People are not going to travel as much as before. Business travel is going to go down. I speak to large businesses, my clients. They tell me that it's going to be about 50% or less, and that results in savings. Of course, it's going to hit the airline industry, but at the end of the day, I think everyone needs to rechart our journeys. So this is an interesting point, right? That you are saying that your business is actually going to be much larger, the potential
Absolutely.
of your business. So let's
Absolutely.
talk about it later a lot more, about what can be done and how government can collaborate. Let's brainstorm and say how government can collaborate to make companies such as yours, promising large enterprises that will actually go out to the world. Let's talk about that later. In the meantime, let's maybe hear from Peter. Very different industry, engineering, Peter.
Hi, everyone. So I guess COVID was a surprise to everyone. We all hope and pray that it's the worst disaster that we have to live through in our lives. Let's fingers crossed. If I were to give an analogy, right, it's like a Formula One race. So life and industry and business economies have run their course through decades per se, and there are leaders and there are laggards, what have you not. But the way I see it is, what COVID did was almost very similar to when a safety car comes out in Formula One. It slows down the pack, everyone starts clustering together. In fact, there was, I would say, actually the world stopped moving for a while, and this is something we've never seen. But if I were to flip it and continue on that conversation that you mentioned as well, it is, where do we go from here? To me, is I think we need to be very cognizant that it's an unusual situation that everyone is starting almost from a standstill. Now, certainly the precedence of being in a position of advantage, right? Being leaders per se, has actually been taken from a lot of companies, a lot of economies. Balance sheets are down, order books are, there's a gap of a year and a half of orders and meetings. I think right now the biggest challenge is everybody in every country is going to try and run and accelerate as fast as they can. Um, Personally, I've never seen such a busy Christmas season before. I mean, here we are on the eve of Christmas Eve having a session when typically I think most of us will be probably watching one of the concerts that she throws, right? And enjoying ourselves, but or eating at the restaurants, right? But this is exactly that kind of madness that I think we need to face. I guess my point, my sharing today is really a case where, as Singapore companies, with the government, uh, public-private partnership to accelerate out of a standstill is needed more so than ever before. And my perspective is, I hate to say this, but I think the worst is not over. If we think that it's business as usual, BAU, and all the meetings are coming back, all the concerts are coming back, the business is going to be as per normal, it's going to flow through Singapore. I would challenge that simply because a lot of foreign entities have all gone home. Now it's a choice of whether they want to come back to Singapore. So my worry really is, come 1st of January, 2022 is going to be a very tricky year. We do need to work together and being very cognizant that if there was ever a time when you're running out of the block, right? Your elbows are dangling out. You got to push each other and try and fly out of the blocks, right? This is exactly what we're going to face in 22. So good luck to us all. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. And I like what you said about and I hope I'm quoting you correctly. Everyone is starting almost from a standstill. That's very, very important because it goes back to business logic. It is very important for us to take stock at very important milestones in the journey of a company, right? Those of us who run companies, we know you can't just keep sprinting. You Every now and then you got to stop or at least pause and then recheck and ask yourself very important questions, of existential questions. Are you happy? Is this what you are doing? Is this what you want to do? And that leads to this whole question of public private partnership. And if I may add to that, government itself probably has to rethink government's role in helping enterprises. For the longest time, enterprises, especially SMEs, have been looking to government for handouts. And that has been the relationship, grants and so on. And of course, you need band-aids during a difficult time. But I'm hoping that this actually alters the PPP sort of relationship. Government should actually be more of a partner than um, than Santa Claus, if I can put it bluntly. A partner, a partner who comes with us, helps to underwrite the risk, goes overseas together with us and pitches together with us. Maybe Temasek link companies can play a more important role in actually working with SMEs instead of competing with SMEs. I don't understand why Temasek link companies are competing with SMEs on a broader front. They should be leading enterprises in Singapore outside, you know. So maybe we can talk openly and honestly about some of these things. This doesn't mean that we are being critical of government. I don't think that's the point. But I think we should just lay the cards on the table so that we can have an honest conversation. Right? Thank you. Candice, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Biswa. So I speak from my personal experience, all right? Working more than 25 years in MNCs, my most successful experience has been to set up a center of excellence for multi-billion dollar business for Asia, working from Singapore and Hong Kong. Now, since 2017, just to give a bit of a background, I've set up my own business, helping corporate companies in many areas of soft skills training, like communication, team synergy, memorable client experience. But from last year onwards, resilience and self-care. That's very, very important. The last 2 years have been really challenging to many businesses. So the external factors have really hit us at the core, right? Health, family, self-care, self-worth, and even questioning our life purpose. Right? I realized that aside from all the soft skills training that we do, real need is helping businesses and their teams navigate through these uncertainties. So both, and I'm talking about both organization and their teams, because as an employee, you, or as a company, you are no longer just looking at the employee as a professional, just in terms of contribution or performance. You have to take note of being, right? How they are feeling right now. So the whole model has changed really. So both organization and the teams need to build resilience to master
Candice,
the new
how,
norm.
if I may ask you,
Hmm.
how has the model changed for your sector? Because
Right.
yours is a very people-driven sector, right?
Yes.
You're dealing with, and I sense you're talking about emotions. You use the word self-worth,
Hmm.
and so all those things are important. But how
Yes.
do you think the model has changed?
Right. So what I can share is that you see in the past or traditionally, all right, uh, people work in the company, they try to strike a work-life balance. That means they're dividing professional life, personal life. So the personal life is kept out of it. So what happened during these 2 years is that it has merged. Unfortunately, personal life has merged with professional life. First of all, we work from home, but that's not really the issue. The thing is that people are becoming more fragile because I said they are hit at the core. And that explains the great vaccination, right? Because why is it that when people start to question their self worth, what's the meaning in life, oh, then they feel like resigning? Why? First day or first few years when they reported to work, they were so full of excitement and all that. Why are they leaving? So companies need to, I say, change the model because companies no longer should just focus on, okay, what are the soft skills training are based on business needs, people development needs, but they should really look at the softer part, how to help their internal teams navigate out of this. The leadership model is going to change. It's not just uh, it's not just like, saying, oh, we all have to be vulnerable, but people only choose to be vulnerable and share or expose certain parts. What exactly is embracing vulnerability? So companies have to act in a different way. They now have to think about the emotions of their staff. So that's really one part, and I can really go deeper in this. I really feel strongly about this. Now, then I just want to maybe at this point switch to the problems that many SMEs are facing also, because we are alone in this battle, and we need to build resilience and have more clarity in our business models. We need to, and again, back to why we go into business, in order to think out of the box and thinking of alternative ways. Like Mr. Siow said, I really resonate with that. We will not target for survival mode, because I want to emphasize on creation mode. I want to come out of it having new ways to create something totally different. And this is so glaring, right? Especially when I uh, joined the management team as Chief Transformation Officer with GoGlobal Business School. I realized the power of collaboration and collaborative marketing among trainers, coaches, and business consultants. So I talk about my own area. So instead of seeing ourselves as single entities, kind of like competing with each other, why can't we come together as a community through collaborative marketing? I mean, right now, I know only Go Global. And as part of this strong global community, we can impact on more local businesses as a team, working on resilience, making them stronger, to be eligible for funding, be it from the government or from other funding.
Why the first suddenly can
I think, oh, so maybe
Yeah, Mr.
I leave it as now.
sorry.
Yeah, I look forward to sharing more later.
Thank you, Candice. I really enjoyed that loving interruption from Shanmugam. Shan, I'm talking to you. Are you there? Okay. I really like what
Sorry
you
for that.
shared. No worries. I was just joking. Uh, Candice, you brought up some really very fundamental issues. People are going through stress. People aren't able to draw a clear line between work and home, and that is very disruptive and stressful, because we don't even know when work starts and when home starts. It's stressful, and this is not a short term. This is going to be there forever. That's what I guess what you meant by business model change.
Mm,
But I like the point you made about the need for us to look at leadership, not just management, but to look at leadership and values and care. And all of those things are very important. Incidentally, a few days ago, I was talking to a business leader, very prominent business leader, and she was sharing with me. I mean, she runs a multinational company, and she was sharing with me that exact point, that she has had to spend 70% of her time, 70% of her time, not on bottom line considerations, but on ensuring that people are feeling safe, interacting with people, asking about people's home situation. All of those things, 70% of her time is spent on that, not the bottom line. Because if you just focus on the bottom line and ignore this, it's going to come back to bite you in a big way. So your point is well taken, and maybe later on we can talk about what needs to be done, what can be done about that. I also like your point about collaboration. I think this has been echoed in various conversations as well. This is an opportunity for us to reframe competition to collaboration. If we keep competing like we used to, then it's going to be a red ocean. All of us are going to be bleeding. But if we start looking at areas that we can collaborate, not just between government and enterprises, but within, among enterprises, across clusters. I think this can be a very, very productive world and constructive world. I feel so. So I really hope that we can talk a little bit more about that. Instead of bleeding, let's find the blue ocean together, right? That brings me quite comfortably to Shanmugam, who has been waiting to talk. Shan, over to you.
Good afternoon, Wiswa. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you.
I really appreciate Peter's view on the F1. The last F1, we saw Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen fighting for the place. And when Lewis Hamilton wasn't, ready for the last lap and was complacent, he lost the race. And this is what all about the current situation that we are facing. How fast we can run next year or even after next year, right? What happened was, like what Wiswa said, it's all finished. And those who are still going strong, they have to look at different angles to come up with different ideas and to sell your products in a different manner, like our food, we are now going on door deliveries, digitalization and all those things. So these are important now. And what we have done past was like, we are waiting for clients to come per day, 600 to 1,000 patrons will come in and go. So these are all history. And we are now beginning to see some different things happening in the restaurant industry. Lucky, about 6-7 years ago, when I met Wiswa, we were talking about automating our entire kitchen, and we did. This is where last year we really made it because, of course, the government gave us some contracts for during the circuit breaker, about 6 months, to do deliveries to the foreign workers and all those things, and that kept us alive in a big way. And we are still alive, we are still doing good. But what is happening now with my all my young children and all that, they are working very hard to go further, and things are going to change. We are not following what we were doing last few years. So door deliveries, we are doing about 20,000 meals today to workers, and institution caterings like Shell and other brand names, popular brand names. So we are afloat now. One of my advice to all F&B outlets that there are different kind of food business in Singapore, right? We have some restaurant who catered only for tourists, and if you are doing that, try to change yourself, right? You have to do a different way for the locals, door deliveries, institution. So this is how you have to change. We changed about 8 years ago. We do institution catering. We change. We don't want to just depend on restaurant, retail restaurant business. So we have changed, and by changing, we have done well during the pandemic. And now currently we are moving on. You always treat like an endemic. Of course, you must be careful, like the government has. Like a tap, they will close it when they want, and they open it when they think that it is good. And we had a lot of assistance from the government to change our policy regularly, to automize my kitchen and my businesses. And I'm very happy that during the pandemic, the government came back and helped us. And hopefully, like what Wiswa said, moving forward, they will continue doing that so that we can have a leeway to change our businesses accordingly. Thank you.